Farewell 2022. It is our last episode of the year, and that means it's time for a little 2022 retrospective on the Nashville Predators. What were the big moments? What were the big goals? What were the highs and lows? And what do you think is going to happen next season? We're going to talk about it today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast that's available to you wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at ontheforecheck.com, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I am Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and editor at InsideThePreds.com.
We made it, Ann. We made it.
We did it. We mostly survived.
Yes.
It's been touch and go at times.
If I had my fireball in front of me, this would definitely be a toast moment to you.
Yes. We have survived. You know, just in terms of hockey, has this been a year or what?
Yeah. This year has been a decade.
Yes. It's like dog years.
It really has been. We were just talking off camera how it's exhausting following the Nashville Predators right now. Just really exhausting. Like, it's just like chaos.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know whether I should laugh or cry or burn myself alive most days.
Yeah, it could. And here's the thing, from day to day, could go either way. You know, you really can't all in commit to one response because you just don't quite know what you're going to get the next time.
Yeah. What's crazy, Ann, is, you know, the past 3-4 years of the Preds hockey have just been filled with so much negativity, you know, so much kind of, whether it's the play on the ice, whether it's, you know, the reaction from some of the fans, stuff like that. It almost makes you forget that when this year started, you know, let's go back all the way to January 2022. It was one of the more optimistic moments of where we were in the team, because you think about it, we were first place in the entire Western Conference. We had just beaten the Colorado Avalanche, who were kind of considered, you know, the front runners for the Western Conference. Mm-hmm. That's a game we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Yep.
And it just, you know, we had Roman Josi putting up insane numbers. Matt Duchene was on a run. Filip Forsberg, going into his contract situation, was on a run. Mikael Granlund was playing better. Ryan Johansen was getting better. You had guys like Tanner Jeannot come out of nowhere. And it just finally seemed that, you know, after all this discourse, after the Laviolette stuff, after, you know, the lockout shortened, or not the lockout, but the COVID shortened year where everybody was angry over the late run that put us in the playoffs, it just finally seemed like things were spinning for the Nashville Predators. It just finally seemed like, okay, after all this time, after all these last couple years of tough hockey, we're where we want to be.
Yes.
So my question to you, Ann, what the hell happened in the next 11 months?
You know what is so interesting is I have no idea. Now, I will say this. It definitely didn't help that the Predators were swept in the first round, because that is a hitch in the giddy up of Predators fans, is we can't get past the first round. And I understand that. I understand that. You know, Juuse Saros being injured, understand that. But even you look at the offseason and you look at the moves that the Predators made in the offseason. I mean, Ryan McDonough, Nino Niederreiter. You know, hindsight tells us Kevin Lankinen was a genius move, even though we openly mocked it. Yes, we did. We openly mocked it.
We're all on board with that, huh?
Now we're all on board. So it really felt like when you looked at this Predators roster going into the 2022-23 season, there was reason to be a little bit optimistic, which is, as we are learning, perhaps not a character quality of a lot of Nashville Predators fans.
Yes.
And it's been a little bit of chaos since then. And, I understand the frustration with it. I understand the ups and downs. I understand that Nashville is losing some games that they should be winning, and people have strong feelings about it. But it's a little bit of for me, it's not even so much the on ice product, although I'm disappointed in some of the on ice product. It is the discourse that I have found most exhausting.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about it before where, you and I have said some not mean, but
No.
negative things towards, some players, some play in the ice, but it feels like we can't even compliment players now, certain players,
No.
without, getting quote tweeted or shaded or, oh yeah, look at this chart. And that part of it is exhausting, Anne. But to
Yeah.
me, going back to the play on the ice,
Mhm.
because look, everybody's talking about like, we need to rebuild, or no, we just need to trade some pieces and kind of load up. We need to get better. We need to intentionally be worse. The frustrating thing for me, and it's frustrating dating back a few seasons, I don't know where this Nashville Predators team is. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know if they're good or not because
Yes.
look, the conversation last year going into this year is, oh, yeah, they played good, but look, they were all having career seasons and they're not going to have count on it this year. And that is a very fair argument. But then that career season is sandwiched by not even an average season, by like
Right.
a way below career year. Like if you look at like Matt Duchene, it's like metrics like worst year of his career, best year of his career, and now he's having a below average season again. So it's not even like you're seeing these players like at their average. Like if everybody played at their average for the Nashville Predators, we would have a really good idea of,
Yeah.
okay, is what they did last year sustainable? Do they have room to grow? Do they only need a few pieces, or are they bad enough where they need to start shaking up their core? We don't know that
Yes.
because nobody is playing up to their potential right now. And it's been that way for the past few seasons, except for, one or two choice players.
Yeah. And I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head with some of the frustration is, everybody is so sure of what the Predators need to do, but are we even really sure what this Predators team has? And I think that for me is the most confusing part because, you can watch certain players, you can watch a stretch of games and you can say, okay, these are the big holes that the Predators have. And they're not going to be able to fix these holes with the roster that they have now. And then you turn around and you'll have a stretch of a couple games where you can say, hey, if these one or two other players step up, this team could move up the rankings and be, a playoff team. At this point, I think that's kind of where everybody's at. Like, is this team going to make the playoffs? You look at the roster and it's really hard to know what this team has. Like, just straight up, what does this team have? I don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know. You just don't know. And it's like, well, if everything comes together, this has the potential to be a team. It really does. If everybody, if people played, average, you would have a good idea. And I think this team could be considered relatively competitive, but you're not having that. Why aren't you having that? And then that opens up a whole nother debate about why are these players not playing, as well as they should be? Is it coaching? Is it the way the team is constructed? Is it certain player? And then it's a dark, dark tunnel, friends. It's a dark tunnel.
slippery slope.
It's
That's
a
it.
slippery slope.
But it's like, I remember those games back in February after the Predators have been playing relatively well, and you started seeing like those kind of random losses slip in
Yeah.
there, like it's Seattle and the really bad Philadelphia team, and some of these like, or they would escape wins with like the skin of their teeth, and you and I would be like, okay, that's fine. A couple of those games happen, just clean it up for the next one. And then the next one would happen, it would be the same thing. And,
Mhm.
and it feels like you and I are talking about the same topics on our recaps lately
Yes.
as we've been talking about like all the way back in February. And that's that's where you have to go, okay, maybe this is who the Nashville Predators are, which is a scary thought because if that's who the Nashville Predators are, then your outlook maybe changes a little bit and you have to think about what you're going to do to make the Nashville Predators not that way.
Yeah. And that's not an easy thing to do when you look at some of the players and the contracts. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a it's a tangled web, my friends.
Yeah.
It's a tangled web.
Well, there were some positive things that happened in 2022 as well. It wasn't all doom and gloom. Stuff like our favorite moments, favorite goals, game of the year, and our player of the year, and also a preview of 2023. We're going to give a bold prediction for just something we think is going to happen in the next calendar year. But first, I want to take a second and talk to you about the Drive Sober and Get Pulled Over campaign. It's New Year's Eve, and you're hanging out with some friends, putting back a few drinks. Few become a few too many. And as the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. You've probably been here before. Maybe you think, no, I'd live down the street. I'll be okay. No big deal. I'm not going to get pulled over. It's not that far. What's the worst that can happen? Well, the worst that can happen is your insurance could go skyrocket through the roof. You could lose your license. You could lose your job. You can go to jail, or you can total your car, or you can really, really hit somebody, either somebody you're with, yourself, or somebody in another car. Everybody knows about the risk of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly, but that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. And that's why police officers are going to be out there this weekend looking for impaired drivers on our roads so they can save lives. So if you're at a holiday party, New Year's Eve party, and you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Don't do it. Play it safe, plan ahead, get a ride. It only makes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. So just take that extra couple of seconds, get a ride, call a friend, walk home, whatever you need to do to stay away from your wheel when you're impaired. Remember, drive sober or get pulled over. All right, Ann, let's look at some positives from the past year of Nashville Predators hockey, because it wasn't all doom and gloom.
It was not.
Favorite moment of the year. There is a couple of them, but favorite moment for you from the past year.
Favorite moment of the year for me, there was one just clear-cut winner for me. And like you said, there were lots of other amazing moments, but for me, just my heart is overflowing and I am verklempt just thinking about it, was the night they retired Pekka Rinne's jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not an on ice moment, but what a moment for this franchise. What a moment for this fan base, and what a moment for Pekka Rinne. And I could wax poetic for years over Pekka Rinne and just what he's done. You know, you can look at his on ice performance and his Vezina winning season and how he has helped carry, you know, this Predators team when he was the starting goaltender for so many games that he won for them, so many incredible saves, such great performances. But his off ice work, the way that he has just immersed himself in the Nashville community and the things that he does for the community, to finally have this moment where the crowd could come together and the city could come together and appreciate somebody who is so stinking humble anyway, that it was probably excruciating for him. It was amazing. And it was such an amazing event because you brought back so many special Nashville Predators players to that jersey retirement as well. So it was just such an amazing moment for the entire franchise and for Pekka Rinne. And for me, that is probably going to be a highlight hockey event for me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing was just seeing the other players too. Like it was like Shea Weber's first kind of unofficial return. You have all the old Predators captains kind of represented there. And that was an absolute blast. But, the Predators had never retired anybody's jersey before.
Yeah.
So we weren't really sure what to expect, and seeing 35 kind of go up there to a restaurant in Pekka with his new family, them together and, them pointing at the banner going up. And, it was just an overall really, really cool moment.
Yeah.
Something very, very special for everybody to kind of remember and see. And, kind of a way to pay tribute to arguably kind of the face of the franchise up to that point.
Yeah.
So to me, yeah, I agree with you that that's up there. For me, my favorite thing happened 2 days after that,
Okay.
and that is the Stadium series. And look,
Yes.
I know what the final score was. I know that it didn't work out, but who would have thought even 10 years ago,
Come
maybe
on.
even less time than that, that Nashville would ever host an outdoor game? Like, who would have ever thought that, like, the NHL would bring, like, I mean, the Winter Classic and stuff, like, started in, like, Wrigley Field in Chicago and Fenway Park, and, the Stadium Series had been in, like, all these iconic places, and it's like, who would have thought they would ever bring it to Nashville?
Yes.
And the week leading up to that was just so fun because that was the Pekka jersey ceremony. He was already in town. He did the ceremonial first catfish toss at the game.
Oh my gosh.
His reaction to almost hitting a linesman was still maybe
Amazing.
the best meme picture we have.
Yes.
And then there's that, but there's, the night before, that was the first night you and I met face to face after doing this entire podcast for a year. So that was fun meeting Sean Smith over On the Forecheck face to face after working together for so many years. The Renegades of Puck, their tailgate, and seeing like these stars and meeting all these Preds fans from around the world. You and I had a lot of good conversations with this random fans that we'd seen on Twitter but had never interacted with. That was special. And then just the game itself.
Incredible.
Going on Lower Broadway before and just seeing like throngs of Preds fans tailgating or Lightning fan tailgating and just kind of the party atmosphere. We always joke, like, who does a party better than Nashville, right? And seeing that, we don't have to talk about how the game ended, but, being there at that stadium, seeing all the pomp and circumstance and knowing that Nashville, for the first time in a while, is like the center of the hockey universe. That was, I think, just a really fun couple of days for me. So I would say that's the moment of the year. And we wound up liking the Stadium Series jerseys. After hating it for a very long time, we wound up liking it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That was a magical. My husband and I were just talking about this about a week ago. We were talking about the Stadium Series, and it was such a unique experience. And I agree with you, to have Nashville be kind of a hub of such a big NHL event is really, it's just a mark in time for the city of Nashville and for the Predators franchise. Like, that is something, and they just did it so well. It was great. And here's the other thing I want to say. I thought the Tampa Bay Lightning fans were amazeballs.
Yeah, no,
Super fun, really amazing.
Yeah, never really had a bad experience with Tampa Bay fans.
No.
So if you're living and you're a Lightning fan, kudos. Whether I'm there visiting or you guys come here, all of you that I met so far are really fun.
Amazing.
So, yeah, go Lightning. How about a game of the year, Ann? Is there a game over the past calendar year that really stands out to you?
This was a really tricky one for me. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I struggled with this one. And I came up with, an okay, good game of the year. I do have a standout game of the year bad, but we don't have to necessarily go there.
You have a couple of those.
Well, don't we though? But for me, I'm going way back to April 28th, end of the season, Nashville facing off against the Colorado Avalanche, and the Predators won that game. They moved into the first wild card spot. We don't have to talk about what happened after that unless we want to dive into my worst game of the season or most memorable game of the year against Arizona. But this was just, look, Colorado and Nashville, their games all last season leading up to the playoffs were so good. They were so competitive. Colorado was such a powerhouse team last season. I mean, they were just outrageously talented. And for Nashville to be able to compete with them, throughout that season was really something. And so for me, it was a good statement win for the Predators. They needed a win like that. And against Colorado, I mean, any victory against Colorado last season, I think, is kind of a benchmark win. And again, don't have to talk about what happened in Arizona if you don't want to.
Also, don't have to talk about the next Colorado game.
The next 4 Colorado games. We can forget those too.
We can just erase those. Or it wasn't even the next 4. It's like the last 7 Colorado games after that.
Yeah. So give me your game of the year. Like, what game stood out to you?
Well, we also don't have to talk about the following games that happened, but it is also a Colorado Avalanche game.
Okay.
This one was back all the way on January 11th, and this was the 5-4 overtime win. And everybody remembers this one. This is the one that Avs fans think should have the giant asterisk on it.
Yes, come on.
But this was that game. And, for those of you who know, I'm talking about the Preds were back and forth with Colorado the entire game. Preds went up 2-0 and then 3-1 and eventually kind of went back and forth. Colorado tied it late. It went to overtime. And then the controversial too many men sequence happened. Not once, but twice.
Yeah.
That was at the very end of the third period where Colorado was really pushing and it looked like they might steal one. And then again in overtime.
Oh, come on.
This is so talked about, still salty about it if you're an Avalanche fan, as you have let us know. But look, there is a couple of bad calls against the Preds earlier in that game. And let's not forget, Colorado got a win years ago off of a wrong Matt Duchene offsides call.
There you have it.
This happens in hockey. But for me, not only was that game memorable, but that was, when the Predators were towards the top of the division. We're still kind of debating, is this just a good run? Are they getting lucky with facing some of the teams with COVID out? Remember, they had played Colorado before Christmas. In the COVID game where Colorado was missing a lot of people, and they said, well, you only won because of that. And then, for the Preds, we're saying we didn't have half our team or a head coach.
Right.
So, there was that kind of debate. And that, to me, cemented at that time, wound up maybe being wrong about it. But look, the Predators can hang with some of the best teams in the NHL. That was, to me, kind of the statement that was made in that game. And of course, Matt Duchene gets the overtime winner. He had scored earlier in the game too. We know how Colorado fans and the Avalanche organization, maybe as a whole, feels about Matt Duchene. So to see him be the guy to kind of twist the knife in the heart of the Avs in that game, that felt good. Yeah, don't hate it.
Feels good. Feels real good.
Yeah.
Coming up, we're going to talk about goal of the year and player of the year. I'm wondering if we have the same player of the year. It's going to be interesting to find out. And we also are going to make we're going to make a bold prediction. We have a bold prediction for 2023. Let's see if we're going to be right about this. I feel confident. I don't. But first, we want to thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen every day. When you are done with Locked On Predators, go and make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today has the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes. They have instant reactions, game recap, and Locked On's Take of the Day. So check out Locked On Sports Today. It is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast.
All right, Ann. So we're going through kind of our look back on the year 2022. Is there a goal that stands out to you?
Okay, this is really funny because the goal that stands out to me is a goal that means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And this is the exhibition game against SC Bern that Roman Josi scored in front of his hometown crowd. And again, exhibition game meant nothing. Absolutely amazing. Not only because Roman Josi scored in front of his hometown crowd in Bern, Switzerland, but the goal itself was one where you're like, oh yeah, that's our boy skating around the perimeter. Nice little backhand shot past the goalie. Absolutely beautiful goal. We saw him score one very similar to that not too long ago here with a great move and a backhand goal. But for me, just to have that moment for Roman Josi, and it's funny, I went back and I was listening to it in Swiss German, and it was so sweet because, like the Bern announcers are just a little bit excited that the Predators scored because it was Roman Josi.
Yeah. I think it's got to be like a situation where even the home crowd is probably cheering for Roman Josi to do something. Like they probably care more about seeing Roman Josi do something than their home crowd.
Yes. In the moment after the game where he went out and kind of did the little cheer with the crowd, like I just love that the team and that Josi and also Nino Niederreiter had an opportunity to play in Switzerland. But for me, that was the goal that brought a little tear to my eye.
Yeah, for sure.
And it meant nothing, friends. It meant nothing.
I've got another goal that brought a tear to my eye that probably didn't mean anything.
Oh, no.
This is the Ryan Johansen shootout goal against the Arizona Coyotes. It was just fun, Ann. Like, if you're going for fun goals, this is like, have you ever played Mario Kart?
No.
So it's like Mario Kart, but you have to chug a beer while you're playing, and you have to finish your beer, but you can only take it when you're racing. So what'll happen is you got to like stop racing, take a sip, and then put it down and then keep driving. That was like Ryan Johansen. He was like, it was like somebody playing NHL 23. It's like skating on the ice. They put the controller down. He just like slowly glides towards the goal. And then it's like they pick it up right in the nick of time to deke past the Arizona goalie. It was like the video game controller got put down for like just like 3 seconds. Just enough to take a sip.
Yeah. I know everybody loves that. I find that move a little maddening. Now he made that goal, and it's so funny because I actually thought about that same goal. He made the goal, and I appreciate that. But there is something about that move that I'm like, really?
No.
But if it works, if it works, it works. And look, the NHL loved it. That definitely made the rounds on social media. So, yeah. Oh, Ryan Johansen, the slow-mo Ryjo.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
Ride. Yeah. It was fun. It was one of those that people would have been talking about for years if that didn't work in like a negative.
Gosh.
All right, Ann. Let's talk about our player of the year. Now, let's be clear that this is for 2022. So it includes the end of last year and the start of this year.
Yes.
We might agree on this.
We might.
Do you want to say on 3?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Juuse Saros.
Roman Josi.
Okay. All right. So we have some discourse. That's good. I didn't think you went in a different direction. Okay. Case for Roman Josi. Go.
Mm-hmm. Case for Roman Josi. So you look at how his season ended, set records last season, in points, in goals, assists, career highs, produced incredible offensive numbers for a defenseman. He was in the conversation, should have been on every Norris Trophy ballot, for the Norris.
And I go grievances. It was fine.
Oh. And, I go back to who is this team without Roman Josi? Who is this team without Roman Josi? And I know that he's had a little bit of a slower start this season, but again, I just go back to who is this team without him? And it's a completely different team. Now, make your argument for Juuse Saros.
It's basically the argument you made for Roman Josi.
Yes.
And I agree.
Yeah.
Like the Predators look like a completely different team than Roman Josi just because that offense runs through him. Like he is the core of what the Predators want to do offensively. But with regards to him, the Predators don't win if they don't have Juuse Saros. Like, there's a difference between maybe not doing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Without Juuse Saros, the Preds aren't winning games at all.
Mm.
And that's the thing. It's like his play is the only reason the Predators are not scraping the bottom of the barrel in the league right now. He's the reason that the Predators made it to the playoffs at all last year and didn't get bounced out of a playoff spot in February or March when they started losing, because Juuse Saros did just enough to close that door, to steal some wins, to play well enough that even when the team in front of him wasn't playing enough, he turned the tide. He made the saves to get his team in a position where they could at least squeak to a win. That's what Juuse Saros does. Roman Josi is, kind of the backbone of the Predators offense.
Mm-hmm.
But as we saw against Colorado last year, if they don't have Juuse Saros,
yeah, fair point.
this team doesn't win. This team has no shot at winning. You can at least say now that they have a shot at winning some games.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a shot at winning if there's no Juuse Saros playing as well as he's played over the past year.
I can absolutely see that argument. The only reason I didn't go and I wrote down Juuse as well. The only reason I didn't go with Juuse Saros is just because the play of Kevin Lankinen has been good this part of the season. Like David Rittich, and again, want to say love David Rittich as a person. Really, there was not a good backup option. I feel like the Predators have a little bit better backup option now, which is kind of why I leaned away from Juuse Saros. But I can absolutely see that argument, and there is a part of, is there not a part of you that wonders, could the Predators have won a game or two in the first round had Saros not been injured? There's a part of me that wonders.
I don't know if, and we've had this debate before.
Yeah, I don't know if it would change the outcome.
I don't know if it changes the ultimate outcome, because I don't think
Right.
anybody's beating the Avalanche that year.
I agree.
But I think maybe they steal a win or two. Maybe they get it to game 6.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, who knows? I mean, Colorado didn't look like anybody was going to beat Colorado.
Yeah.
All right, Ann, let's look forward.
Oh dear.
What is a bold prediction you have for 2023?
This is a really tough one. And I go back to what we said at the beginning of the episode, because who really knows? Who really knows what we have with this team? My bold prediction is, if the Predators make the playoffs, if the Predators can get into the playoffs, I think they're going to get through the first round.
That's a big if at that point.
It is. And that's what's so hard, is I think if they can get into the playoffs and kind of have a reset, I feel like there's a chance that they could do better. But again, oh my gosh, Nick,
who are the
real Nashville Predators please stand up? It's hard to make a bold prediction because, again, not 100% sure what we have here.
Yeah. My bold prediction, Anne, maybe this hints at how I think the rest of the season's going to go for the Preds.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see a major change this offseason. And I don't really know what. So that's why I'm just saying a major change, because I think something big is going to happen if the Predators continue down the path they're on now. Maybe that's a coaching change. Maybe that's a GM change. Maybe a major player is traded, like not kind of, a fringe second and third line, but a part of your core, a part of the people that you had built this team around. Maybe that gets traded. Maybe you send some people out and try to bring in like a big name free agent or somebody big off the trade block. I don't know what, but I do feel like if the Preds continue sort of this, wishy-washy path, miss out on the playoffs or kind of get knocked out early again, I don't think you can stand by and say like this is good enough. So I think, and maybe that is also kind of a prediction on how I think the rest of the season might go.
Yeah.
But I think that is going to I think you're going to see big changes coming to the Nashville Predators this offseason.
I can see that if the season doesn't go well, I think you are out of time for saying we just need to do a little tweaking. I think if this season does not turn around, the tweaking excuse has run its course. But yeah, I mean, I'm a optimist. We're going to make it to the playoffs and get to the second round, but
that's the
maybe
spirit.
not. Maybe not.
Yeah, that is the spirit. All right. Well, we'll see what happens.
Knows?
Yes. It's funny. We were just talking about how we're tired of the negativity around the Preds, and here we go. It's like thinking, yeah, I think they're just gonna blow it up this offseason. No, good times. And it's been a fun year with you. Thank you as always for being my colleague.
This is a blast. Wouldn't do it with anyone else.
Yeah. Go ahead and give yourself a plug and let us know where we can find your work.
You can find my work at InsideThePreds.com, and you can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me at ontheforecheck.com or follow me on Twitter at _NSMorgan. Guys, we are just so thankful for you guys. Again, as we mentioned, this has been our last show of the year. For everybody this entire year, whether you listen, whether you interact with us, whether you submit questions for a mailbag, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for all the interactions, all the follows, all the tweets, and as always, for making us your first listen of the day. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to us, whether it's on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform. And as we mentioned, send us a tweet, send us some love at LO_Predators on Twitter. Let us know if there's ever a topic you want us to discuss, whether a point for the team or just something fun. Let us know. We love to hear from you, and we can't wait to hear more from you in 2023. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators. Again, thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back next year with an all-new episode. We'll see you then, guys.